Hey, Gary, Gary Lake. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 2020 National Texas Longhorn Show. We're happy to have you here. This is going to be a great show today. We got some really nice cows for you to look at. As usual, we will start the program with the singing of the national anthem. Marlene Reynolds is our soloist, and she will sing the national anthem. So here is Marlene. Please stand and recover.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I want to just, don't sit down. We're going to have an invocation. And the invocation is going to be given by Gary Lake.
Well, we're glad you're here at the 2020 National Western at the Longhorn Show. This is exciting because the Old West kind of comes alive here, and we love this part of it. We're going to open in a word of prayer because that's what we get to do out here in the West as part of the cattle business and the rodeo deal. You know, it's a tradition in our country, and we're glad that we can carry it on. So, if you'd uncover, bow your heads with me, we'll ask the Lord. Heavenly Father, this morning, another wonderful day in Denver, Colorado. Hard to believe that it can be midwinter and be like this. Only you can create a day like this, and we're thankful for it, Lord. We're thankful for these amazing cattle that we get to be a part of this breed. For everyone that's here today that's interested, that's just dropping by to look, pray that you bless them today. Give them a good time here. Keep us safe as we show cattle today. And, Lord, we'll be thankful for everything you do in your precious name. Amen.
All right, thank you, Gary. And we certainly are privileged to be here with the just wonderful cattle that we have. The Texas Longhorns are the only American cattle at the National Western Stock Show. And the reason for that is because the Texas Longhorn cattle are the only American cattle, the only indigenous American cattle. They came originally from Spain, made their way across, and became wild cattle down in southern Texas and northern Mexico, and that's where this breed comes from. I'll tell you some more about that later, but one little thing we're doing just as an aside. These are not a class in the Texas Longhorn Show, but we have some people have started raising what we call miniature Texas Longhorns. Now, by selective breeding, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, and Kyla will tell us some more about it also. But we have some miniature Longhorns here that we want to show you. They were brought up here by Weldon and Kyla Lovejoy out of Hondo, New Mexico. And these are the miniature Longhorns. Now, some of them are, these are, Weldon told me that these are some of the largest minis that they have. And they never get much bigger than this. Now, we're going to parade them out in front of you here. And then I'm going to turn the mic over to Kyla Lovejoy. And she is going to tell us a little bit more about the miniature Texas Longhorn breed. And here's Kyla. Perfect timing.
Thank you, John. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyla Lovejoy, and we're the miniature breeders out of Ruidoso, New Mexico. We're the miniature breeders out of Ruidoso, New Mexico. Here we have 6 females and a calf at side who is lost, excuse her. And these are all shown miniature Longhorns. They're all halter broke. We have a 17-year-old all the way down to a 9-month-old here. The 17-year-old is about max height for a miniature female. They can be up to 45 inches at the top of their hip. Bulls are 48 inches and steers are 50. There are about 30 breeders of miniature Longhorns all across the United States, and there are about 6 of us who go to shows and exhibit our animals. Right here, the little red bighorn heifer is about a 2-year-old, so you can see where she will grow to about the size of the 17-year-old. So, these are the miniatures. Please feel free to look us up on Facebook, Lovejoy Longhorns, and follow the minis and where we go with them. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Weldon and Kyla. We appreciate you bringing these cattle up from New Mexico. And while we're waiting for the other cattle to come in to be shown loose, Gary Lake is busy out there sending pens and sending panels so that we can move some cattle in here. But let me tell you a couple little things that Kyla told me about the miniatures. Well, first of all, let me precede that with a little tale about Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns were originally, as I said, wild cattle. They just roamed wild down in the chaparral in Texas. And then they would go in and gather them up and run them up to north to, they put together a herd of about 2,000 or so head and run them up north to the railroads up in Kansas and in Nebraska and so on. Some of them went as far as Wyoming and on up into Montana. And there are actually now a lot of Texas Longhorn cattle up in Canada as well. In fact, our judge is from Canada. Then in the early 20s, there were some clashes between what we call exotic cattle, which are the fat cattle that came from Europe and England and Scotland and Italy and all that. And people that ran those out here to the west, they didn't like having these wild cattle mixing with them. The wild cattle had ticks on them. They were immune to the ticks, but the other cattle were not. So anyway, the Longhorns started to wane in popularity, and also they didn't fatten up like the other ones. And so in the early 20s, the government started getting concerned that maybe the Texas Longhorns would go extinct, and that was not what we wanted. So as a result, they got a couple of rangers together and gave them a budget of a couple $1,000 and said, go out and start a government herd of purebred Texas Longhorns. Well, they found 6 other breeders and who had kept purebred Longhorn cattle, and one of those was Butler, Milby Butler, and the Butler breed he concentrated on Longhorns. Well, the government herd was put together at the Wichita Refuge in northeastern Oklahoma. But anyway, I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, Kyla was telling me that a lot of the miniature Longhorns, because the Butler herd was a closed herd and was pretty much inbred, and as a result, some of the genetics got concentrated in certain places, and they ended up with some particularly small cattle. So some of the miniatures came from there. And then she shared with me also some of the other breedings from which they have selected the genetics in order to come up with the miniature Longhorns. Now, the miniature Longhorns are actually a regular, genetically same as a full-size Texas Longhorn, but they just happen to be miniatures. All right, I guess we're ready to start the show. And all of you should have a program. There are plenty of programs down here. The non-haltered show is the second half of the book, so if you open to the center part, you will have the program for today. If you want the schedule overall, you go to the front part of the book, and we'll go through that later on. I'd like to introduce our judge. Okay. Oh, get the from Darlene. Okay, you guys do that.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Name, numbers, and birthdays. Judge only gets numbers and birthdays.
What?
Okay, she forgot her book.
I know she forgot her book, but here I got the whole program right.
It's got names and everything.
No, Darlene, where's the judges program? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I wrote the
No, wait. We've got the whole program for her. No, I got it. Okay, here it is.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah, okay. There you are. I'd like you to turn to the front of your program on page 2. And there on the top is a little blurb about our judge, Deb Lessick. And Deb hails from Saskatchewan, a town called Outlook, Saskatchewan. And she and her husband have raised Texas Longhorns there for quite a while. She's a member of the board for the Texas Longhorn Breeders Association. And she has been certified by the International Texas Longhorn Association as a certified judge as well. So anyway, we're bringing in the first class. And the first class has heifers born May 1st through June 30th, 2019. And there's only one in the class. This program part starts on page 17. While she's doing that, let me make another couple introductions. I'm John Nelson. I'm the announcer, and I'm on the page 2 over here. And my wife, Darlene, is sitting down there, and she's helping to keep the record straight and the badges and the buckles and the ribbons. And she's being assisted in that by Nikki Adams right here. Nikki is helping her. Yesterday was Karen Richardson. And with me here is a good friend, Mark Behringer. He showed yesterday, and he's helped me out last year up here, and he's helping me today as well. I see the judge is ready for me, so here you are.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's great to see a crowd of interested people in our great breed of Texas Longhorns. As you said, I hail from Canada, although home is Nebraska. So I just happened to pick up a hockey player many years ago, and we skated north, and I just haven't come back across. Anyway, always fun to start a show with one cow or one calf. It makes it, you kind of get your nerves under control, and you get a chance to evaluate. This little heifer, this is your May 1st to June 30th, and what I appreciate about this little heifer is her top line. I appreciate how she just kind of flows nicely in from her neck into her shoulders. She's got good hip development starting. She's clean underneath, and I wish she had some competition today, but for today, she's your first place winner.
Okay, that little heifer was Top Gal. She's out of Top Shooter by Patriots Gal. Her owner is Jeff and Jordan Widows, Tin Cup Ranch, Johnstown, Colorado. Mark's going to make an announcement here about raffles.
Yeah, thanks, John. As John said, we're all real happy that you're all here today. But we are, for the youth of the Texas Longhorn Breeders here in the Mountains and Plains Association, we always do what I call a 50-50 raffle. 50% of all the money that comes in is given out today in prize money. Yesterday, the prize was a little over $100 that was given out to the person that won. And the way it works is tickets are $1 a piece or 6 for $5. And there's little gals walking around here. If you see one of them or they're walking out front there and you want to get a ticket for this, and it's all a cash deal. The prize is cash. So if we sell $500 worth of tickets, you're going to get $250 as a winner. So it's a pretty good deal. So we're ready for the second class.
Okay, this is class 102. These are heifers born March 1st through April 30th of 2019. There should be 4 in the class, and there are 4. The class is complete. And I told you that, a little bit about the origin of the Texas Longhorns up here and about our Wichita Refuge herd. And the names of the 7 families that from which the Wichita Refuge herd was put together, I could remember about half of them, but I have a good friend down here who, even though he's significantly older than me, is still able to remember all of them. Stan Searle's sitting right down here. Anyway, the 7 families are Butler, Wright, Peeler, Phillips, Yates, and Marks, and from them the Wichita Refuge herd, WR, was formed. So those 7, from Butler through Wichita Refuge, those 7 form the 7 original breeds of our Texas Longhorns. Now, some people put together their herd and concentrate on keeping, their breed mostly from one of those families, the breeding. The one that's most popular on that is Butler. One thing about the Butler breed is they tend to have nice, long, spread out horns, very pretty horns. So if people are really interested in horns, they tend to concentrate on Butler a lot. There's various characteristics of the others as well, but actually, in most cases, for most of the cattle, if you go through them, there's a mixture of different families in them. I told you you're going to see some pretty nice cattle here today, and this is a good way to start out. Okay, I'm going to give it to the judge. She took a while to write it down because she writes in Canadian.
Little does he know that I'm thawing out. It was minus 51 up there this last week. So we are really appreciating this weather, but I'm sure my blood pressure hasn't come down yet. It's like, it's summer down here. Anyway, when this class came into the ring, I have to tell you that the one that captured my attention right off the bat was number 22. The other brown and white one right here. She stands out. She is balanced. She is correct. And I really liked the way she moved. In second place, I put number 21, this other brown and white one. If I was, again, loved the line, loved how she is structurally correct, how she moves. If I was going to do anything, I would like to clean her up a little bit underneath. I like a really clean underline. In third place, I put number 24, and in fourth place, I put number 23. These two gave up a little bit to me in depth, although you have to appreciate their length, and you certainly have to appreciate their horn development. But that's how I saw this class today.
Okay, well, the first place was Windy Point Sylvie, owned by Lana Pearson of Fowler, Colorado, Windy Point Ranch. Second place was SC Shadow Girl, that's owned by Mark Behringer, right here next to me. He's from Bethune, Colorado. For those of you who don't know where that is, that's way out east. And then third place is Smokin' Beast, owned by Russell Freeman of Freeman Longhorns down here by Yoder, Colorado. And in fourth place was Molly Doll, owned by Randy and Marcia Whitty of Peyton, Colorado. One of the things about the Longhorn cattle of today as opposed to the Longhorn cattle from yesterday, The haltered cattle, they stand still in a halter, and the people can brush them out and wash them down a little and clean them up. But the cattle that are shown loose, we don't really have the ability usually to do that. And so these cattle are not groomed quite as prettily as yesterday. On top of that, they have their winter coat on them, so they look a little husky. Another thing that's characteristic of Texas Longhorns is what we call wild hair. On their poll, Texas Longhorns tend to have wild hair sticking out at their poll around the base of their horns. Some people tend to cut that off because it makes the horns look bigger, but actually that's a characteristic of the Texas Longhorns, and so I don't really like when they do that.
So in class 103, heifers born January 1st to February 28th, we have a super awesome individual heifer in this class. I don't know if you noticed how she profiled for me, but she does stand out. You have to appreciate her top line. You have to appreciate how clean she is underneath, how her neck connects into her shoulder. She's got a good hip. She's got super horn development. And I wish she had some competition, but for today, she's first in the class.
Okay, that was Windy Point Paisley Boris out of Windy Point Boris Island, Iron by Windy Point Pawnee. It's owned by Lana Pearson, Windy Point Ranch in Fowler, Colorado. Now we're going to choose the champion junior heifer. And to choose the champion junior heifer, we're going to take the first class winners of all three classes. We put the first class winners out in the ring, and the champion is chosen from those three. Now to get the reserve champion, if in this particular case, if the first champion were to have come from the second class, then the second place winner in that class would be put out with them as a chance to win as the reserve champion. So the judge now is going to pick. We finally got a dolly here to keep the cattle. For some reason, like to come up into the announcer's stand, and we don't like that because when they announce, they don't say very nice things about us humans.
I like what I'm seeing so far. I'm pleased with what I have to choose from for your junior champion. I'm going to go with number 22, the middle one walking down here. Between her and number 31, it was very close, but again, I went with a little more depth of body. And although the other heifer has probably more horn development, I still am going to go with number 22 as your junior champion.
As we know, that was Windy Point Sylvie out of Windy Point Boris by Windy Point Samoa, owned by Lana Pearson. Now we will bring out the second place, winner in that class, and the reserve champion will be chosen from those three. The Texas Longhorn breed is a particularly nice breed for people, especially who have not a large operation. One thing about Texas Longhorns is, in raising Longhorns for the last 22 years, the only time we had to pull a calf was when the head got twisted. We've never pulled a calf for reasons that it was too big or the hips got caught or whatever. Not on a Texas Longhorn anyway. We've had to pull some of other breeds, but not those. Looks like we're going to have the reserve champion here.
Your reserve champion, junior heifer, will be number 31. I selected her, again, good horn development for her over the other ones, and certainly I appreciate that clean underline, and I think she's going to turn out to be a remarkable heifer. I like her length, and I like her depth of body. So junior heifer champion was 22, and your reserved junior champion heifer was number 31. Thank you.
Okay, that number 31 was Windy Point Paisley Boris. That's out of Windy Point Boris Iron and Windy Point Pawnee, owned by Lana Pearson also. So Lana did quite well in these in this group. All winners of ribbons or buckles or whatever, please be sure you pick up your ribbon or buckle from the desk down here from either Katie. What's her name? Nikki. Either Nikki or Darlene. I'm having trouble with Nikki's name today for some reason. She must be her pretty face down there is getting me all excited. You want to announce about the tickets? Get up.
Yeah. Don't you see the good-looking lady and little girl walking down front out here? They've got the tickets for the raffle we was talking about. It's a 50-50 raffle with the proceeds going to the youth show. So if we take in, like I said before, $500, then $250 will go back to you, $250 go to the youth, and it's a cash sale. We don't have, or it's a cash raffle. We don't have any prizes. It's strictly cash. So if you happen to win, you're going to get hard, cold cash. So the youth, if you weren't here yesterday for the youth Haltered show, it's a very, very good class that teaches the kids a lot about how to care for cattle, and it gives them a love for Longhorns that hopefully will follow on into the rest of their adult lives. So please be sure and help us out with the raffle. These gals will be through here all day long with the tickets, and at the end of the day, we'll draw the winner here about in the last class or two when we're finishing up this evening. So again, help us out on that all you can. We appreciate it.
Okay, looks like we're getting another class in here. This will be class 104. These will be heifers born September 1st through December 31st, 2018. So these will be heifers that are between a year and about a year and a fourth old, 12 to 16 months or thereabouts. I want to kind of go through the program a little with you. On the inside front cover is an ad from Silverado Ranch, which is a partnership between Stan Searle and Gary Lake. He's got a picture of a nice fence there. I saw him have an ad once with that. It said, "A good fence is like a bikini. It doesn't obstruct the view, but it protects the property." If you turn to page 3, we have our show sponsors here. It costs money to put on a show like this. We have to buy buckles, you have to buy ribbons and pay for prize money and all kinds of things. All the work, of course, is done by volunteers. And we're very dependent upon our sponsors, our show sponsors, and our buckle sponsors for the for our ability to put on a show like this. So on page 3 we have our sponsors listed, and I'd like to just mention them. The general show sponsors are the International Texas Longhorn Association out of Glen Rose, Texas, and the First National Bank, FNBO. They go by FNBO now, First National Bank of Omaha. But First National Bank has about 20 local branches here in Colorado, so they're very present. Then we have the buckle sponsors. Yesterday we had the Haltered show, and the sponsors for the buckles in the Haltered show, where the bulls was Russell and Jamie Freeman, the Freeman Ranch out of Yoder, Colorado. The Heifers buckle was sponsored by David and Jody Faley, Coyote Ridge Longhorn Company of Sedalia, Colorado, not too far from here. And the Mature Cows buckle was sponsored by Corianel Buckle Company, from whom we buy our buckles. So it's very nice of them to also sponsor. In the non-haltered show, which is the show we're doing today, I'll go through the buckles sponsors when we come to them, but you can look at them there. And then we have for youth sponsors, we had yesterday Nikki Adams and Fane McDowell of Wildfire Ranch, Colorado Springs, TJ and Tammy Farnsworth from 7-Eleven Ranch in Mountain Home, Utah. TJ's father, Darrell Farnsworth, a very good friend of mine. He was a very well-known and highly respected man in the Texas Longhorn industry. He told lots of nice tales. And he unfortunately passed away. He ran a crushing plant in a gravel pit for quite a while and ended up with silicosis. Then we have also Kenny and Karen Richardson of Fossil Creek Longhorns out of Greeley. And then Randy and Marcia Whitty were youth sponsors. They have Redding Ranch over here by Peyton, Colorado. Then we have a special buckle underneath all of that. That is a Longhorn Trailblazer buckle. We were talking a few years ago about there are some people who show a lot, come to the shows, work with the shows, spend a lot of effort in this, but haven't won a buckle yet. And that tends to discourage them. So we said, those people actually, for all their work and effort, deserve a Trailblazer buckle. And so Stan and Gary of Silverado Ranch have sponsored the Trailblazer buckle. This is awarded to the High Point owner who has not won a buckle at the National Western. Its purpose is to reward and encourage new and even long-time breeders who are working at raising quality Longhorn cattle and are active in the industry. So there's a committee that's put together. It's going to do this. A couple of years ago, it was a sure bet that Lana Pearson was going to win that. Then she went and screwed it all up because she won a buckle in the show. So we had to reconvene the committee at the last minute. Okay, underneath that we have the organizing committee. This is the committee that's organizing for the National Western Texas Longhorn Show. Randy Whitty is here somewhere. Randy? Oh, Randy's over here behind me. Randy's got the camera. He's taking pictures, and we appreciate his efforts in doing that. And Marcia is up here somewhere, his wife. Right there, right next to Nikki. Kenny Richardson is also a co-chairman. Unfortunately, Kenny had to leave today. He's got back problems. He showed